One, two. All right, folks. We're going to go over some housekeeping chores today, and we'll start on retailing briefly. But let's go over some basic things right now. First off, before I go on to the regular schoolwork, tomorrow night, the student AMA chapter is going to have a meeting in this room at 6:30 for about an hour or so. The student chapter of the American Marketing Association is a great organization for you to be a part of. The student AMA goes to conventions, it participates in competitions. When you're a member of the AMA, you have full access to the AMA's resources, including a national database of jobs and positions that are open and available for you. And so what the discussion is going to be about tomorrow night is it will be about two things. About the joining the AMA membership. It will also be about the virtual convention that they're going to have from April 8th to the 10th. One of the things that they're going to do is the AMA is going to be entering in a t-shirt competition, and we always have done great in that. The International Student AMA is going to do a 10-second TikTok video for every student chapter across the United States before their keynote speech. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it's a great thing to be in, especially for you juniors. And not just the juniors, but you seniors as well. You juniors, you're just about to come into your senior years. It's a great chance to step into this, and it's a great opportunity. I don't want you to miss it. One of the things that I will do is if I see you online tomorrow night, you can either come here and have pizza, or you can be online tomorrow night because we'll do the Zoom meeting and I'll send you the links. If you want to, I'll give you 2 points on the test that you just took, okay? So just tuning in online is enough to get you a couple extra points. So what are you going to be doing anyway, all right? So come join us tomorrow. It might give you a chance that you haven't had in a while, and especially after this last year. I mean, don't you want to go do something else? So please join us either here or join us online. And I'll send you those links in the mail this afternoon, okay? So thank you for that. So next couple of housekeeping chores. Next week, this is the week of, the next week, I will not be here either day, either Tuesday or Thursday. I have family things that I have to take care of, and I've been trying to beat things down to be able to get all your grading stuff by tomorrow. But it means I'll add those 2 points if you're online tomorrow. Having said that, next week on Tuesday or Thursday, there will not be live, but I will have recorded videos. So there is assignment for next Tuesday, and now this comes down to your group projects, okay? So I must also say, I apologize, I haven't sent out the groups, but I wanted to go ahead and show you that the groups have been assigned. And so these groups, as they are assigned, as I said, I will send this email out this afternoon. As the groups you see here, you're going to work together for your assignment to be deadline next Tuesday, anytime during the day, okay? Next Tuesday, it will be the position paper. Now, remember, as we talked about what the position paper is, it's going to be a strongly worded statement, 600 words, no more, Times Roman, 12-point font, double spaced, all that stuff I talked about before, but I haven't given you what the position paper is going to be on, and that's what I'm going to do now. Now, this is the statement on the position paper. So the statement is, I don't really like conflict. I try to avoid it whenever I get a chance. However, I am the district manager, one step from an executive vice president, and I'm being asked to represent my company today in a very difficult meeting with an upstream supplier who demands big concessions from us to carry a new line. So you're kind of set up with a scenario. Should I ask to let someone else do this because I am not good at this and I may fail? And then what is the reason to accept this kind of conflict? Your position as a group, or how you'll decide it, is to say, yes, get someone else to do it. I'm not good at doing this thing, all right? That perhaps I don't have whatever it takes. Maybe I will lead things to manifest conflict and define what manifest conflict is. Or no, this may be a good thing for me. Conflict is a staple of organizational structures. Give me those arguments in one way or another. You can use your book as a source, no doubt about it, okay? And as I said before, more research means higher grades, all right? And so if you look at more discussion on functional conflict, look at it on manifest conflict, look at it in general, you know, you have the Hunt article as well that you can look at. You have those things that you can turn to your advantage, okay? And so this is the position paper, and you as a group, you'll say the very first thing right out, based upon our considerations, we strongly believe they should accept this responsibility and why. Or once you get past yes, you should do it, the remaining part of the paper is going to be explaining to me why. Give me your justification for that. And where you use scholarship versus just speculation, your own thoughts, you get better points, okay? It doesn't mean that you can't say therefore or because of this. That's reflective thinking, and that's good, all right? But take it beyond, well, I don't think it's kind of a nice thing, or I don't feel like that would be very good. That's not what would do it. You need to make your discussion go towards valid and specific points, okay? Questions? Okay, all right. All right, so this will be due next Tuesday, which if I look at my handy dandy calendar, I believe that's on the 16th, yes. So it'll be due on the 16th. And if you have any questions, please email me. All right. So let us go on, and we're going to talk about retail. Now, kind of interesting things that I'm not ever sure that you knew. So I always talk about the magic of a supermarket, but I'm weird. But I kind of wanted to give you an idea of some of the things about supermarkets. Just to give you an idea, they employ nearly 5 million people in the United States. They do $700 billion worth of work. This is 2018 numbers, by the way. And there are over 38,000 supermarkets. That does not even talk about all of the other kinds of stores, such as convenience ones as well. One of the fascinating things that when you get down to supermarkets is, where is it? This. Net profit after taxes. Look at that, only 1%. It means that if they do $100,000 in sales, they only profit by 1,000. Is that crazy? I mean, that's why, folks, if you go to supermarkets, go to the delis at least once, or buy the meats, because the things that they make themselves are the things that they make any money off of. They make 30 or 40%, whereas the things that they sell for someone else, they practically make nothing at all. So one other thing I thought I'd pass down when I looked at this, traditional supermarkets, what I usually talk about, they can have anywhere between 15,000 and 60,000 SKUs, means selling units, okay? So it's kind of an amazing thing to think about, all right? And you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in this town alone. It's just amazing. Okay, so enough of that. All right. So retail sales, all right? Let's first talk about and go right to the definition, because that's important. Retail, spit it out, Dave. The dictionary says that retailing are the activities involved in selling of goods to ultimate consumers for personal or household consumption. Yes, this will be a test question, all right? What is the determinant of whether a sale in Staples is a retail sale or whether that sale is a business or commercial sale? It is the buying motive. The buying motive is what determines whether a sale is a commercial sale or a retail sale, all right? And so what that means is this: if I go into Staples and I buy a laptop, and in the purchase of that laptop, my reason for is that so you could do your work like you've been wanting to do, all right? Well, that would be for personal consumption, and then it's a retail sale. If I were to take that same laptop and I were to use that in the fulfillment of a business, whether it is directly tied to the sale of that or if it's selling administrative, that's a commercial sale. The buying motive is the reason it's a retail sale. A retail sale, the buyer is the ultimate consumer, okay? It's not used for a secondary consumption or in the creation of something else. So, folks, I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna worry about all of these things. I'm only really gonna talk about one of these in particular. I've told you stuff about supermarkets, but the really classification of only the retailers that I want you to think about with all the others is convenience goods, because convenience goods are fascinating in that they tend to be the goods that are most conveniently available, all right? So usually they work for goods that you buy on impulse, buy for emergencies, or for staples, all right? And staples are the things that you happen to buy every week, all right? And staples covers a fairly large group from things such as milk all the way up to tobacco, or if you're into that, okay? It's kind of interesting that I find is that the Dollar Generals have done a great job, I think, of having staples in their stores. And now what I noticed is they have frozen vegetables as well. And it's funny because my wife had talked about it, and he said if they really wanted to do good, they should have at least some way of having that. And yes, they do. So good for them. So just to say, they have assortments, many versions of grocery stores. They charge a premium for convenience. Okay. All right. So we know that the big players in terms of non-store are QVC and Amazon. And of course, the biggest dominant one in the retailing trade is Walmart, and they're easily number one. Amazon I think they topped the $90 billion mark last year, where Walmart is at $460 billion. So it kind of gives you an idea just in terms of the overall size. But the interesting also is how they're kind of going in this direction. You know, the Walmart is trying to become part of an omni-channel environment, and Amazon, which is an omni-channel environment, bought Whole Foods, those poor people, to get into the retail trade. And many times the reason is you kind of ask why. Well, you know, with the omni-channel, you kind of blur the lines, and the difficulty is that it's hard to be able to, you know, find where channels work in exact definitions with each other, all right? However, I mean, the channels and the omni-channel are great to work together because there's a big reason, all right? Test question. The big reason why Amazon is going into retail and Walmart moved online in a big way in 2014 is the last line. Omni-channel sales are usually higher than online-only retailers. So what it means is this: for Amazon to truly expand, all right, they need more channels. And to me, I think the one who's done better than them right now has been Walmart. Of course, they have a retail footprint that they've had for, well, since 1963. So that's coming up on 40, 60 years. It's not bad. But with having an online presence, they have a extensive knowledge of what it takes to run a truly multi-channel environment, okay? So you gotta have more channels if the omni-channel is gonna really pay off. You have higher sales with more channels than if you only have an online-only retailership, okay? So I also kind of find this funny, and I put it in there and I'm okay with it, but I was writing about this in 2007, you know, and everybody does, okay? I mean, there's what's called the telic and autotelic individuals. And these are individuals who go for the win, which is the telic, and the autotelic are those who simply live the experience, all right? And this trends here, I find to be amusing because this is stuff that that has been talked about for a long time. Apter and the reversal theory has talked about this. You know, you have two perceptual categories: people who associate product and service retailing with mundane chores, visit dry cleaners only because they got to, and those who say that retailing may be perceived as a fulfilling experience, which they call social shopping. But they were doing this in 2006, talking about consumers who would go to retail outlets, and it doesn't matter, it's across any demographic level. When you go to the store with someone else, you stay longer and spend more. Example, if any of you go to David's bridal shop, generally there are 4 or more individuals there. Usually you will be served wine and champagne. You will be given or insisted that you try on as many dresses as you wish, and you might buy one. My wife bought 4, okay, and I'm not kidding. So she bought one to get married in, one to take pictures in, and like one you trash in, you know, I mean, apparently that was the thing around then, but you're supposed to have one that you jump in the lake in, I guess. But I'm not dumping in the lake with my tuck. Tucks cost $600. And I don't know what she's gonna do with the other one. Maybe give it to my daughter. I don't know. So anyway, but my daughters better not touch it because she gets upset. So, all right. So, I want to point out something over here, without my glasses, is retail positioning strategies. And I want to talk about how do you make money in the retail? Well, in the retail business, you've really only got a couple of ways, okay? Profit. How do you make profit? Well, it comes down to a very simple calculation. You have sales and you have expenses. If it's directly tied to the production of the item, it's called the cost of goods sold. As far as we're concerned, we're just going to talk about it, all right? So how do we go about making that number as high as we possibly can? Well, there's really only two ways to do this, all right? One way is to decrease your expenses, and this is what's known as a cost side characteristic. Or what you do is you try to increase sales or sales margins, and that's what the increased side part is. So there are specific cost side characteristics that you can go about and change, and demand side characteristics. And so with either one of those sides, you have a way of manipulating profit. And these are the things that retailers use. And so in cost side positioning strategies, generally, in a high service retail system where service is high, margins are higher, turnover is lower. Now, does anybody want to tell me what turnover is? Or are you all saying, well, I'd rather you tell me? Wait, I see you. Somebody asking a question. When do we get your groups for the paper? I will email your groups this afternoon tonight, I promise, okay? As you saw, the groups were listed there. And so I will make sure that I send that to you, okay? I will. So, turnover has to do with inventory, and the only way really to explain turnover is tell you how it works. I have $1,000 of inventory in my store at the beginning of the year in January. I sell that $1,000 of inventory over the year. The turnover rate is 1. Turnover rate is how long does it take in a given year to broom the shelves and sell everything you have, all right? You want higher rates than 1, but 1 means that you're alive barely, okay? If your turnover rate in a year is less than 1, just think about it. It means you didn't sell everything that you had. And that also means that you have things that are left over that you may never sell through attrition or maybe through technology moving on, you never know. So inventory in the 70s and the 80s became one of the great panaceas about how you go about surviving as a corporation. You drive down the amount of inventory that you have in your office, or in your building, to as low as you possibly can. And this is where the concept of just-in-time came in, all right? So what just-in-time means is that you receive goods in inventory just when they're wanted, all right? And so an example is this, is I have this tire that I'm going to put on a particular car, and just as I need that, I reach for that tire and shipping slaps that tire in my hand and I put it on the car. In other words, the ideal thing is that you never have any inventory whatsoever. And in that way, the numbers for inventory just spiral like crazy. You have no idea, okay? So that's the idea of inventory. That's what turnover means. Turnover numbers that are high are absolutely wonderful. It also means is that there's this less of a strain on overall capital that's not being tied up in goods that aren't making you money. And so now you kind of understand, okay? High service retailing systems, margins are higher, turnover is lower. So if your turnover is low in the 1 range or less than a 1, you want to have goods that happen to be, oh, what's the word I want to use? Goods that can just last for a long time, okay? Goods that don't have any connections to technology, so they're not going to be obsolescent. Those would be examples when you're in that situation. Diamonds. Fashion is one of the most difficult things in the world to try to predict. So in a low price retailing system, you have the opposite. You have low margins, high turnover, and minimal service levels. And so what Walmart hopes to do is have just enough on the shore to entice purchase and have those goods regularly updated, okay? Low margin, high turnover model, basically the way they work or had success is if they have high operational efficiency. And so what that means basically is that they're run very well, all right? They, because of the efficiency and the way they work, they have just in time, so they're not spending any time on the shelves. They have minimal amounts of actual warehouse storage. If any of you ever gone to the back of a Walmart, it's actually pretty thin back there, very little. I mean, they literally live out of the trucks that come driving in every day, okay? And so that's how you do that, okay? So they talk about consumers get cheaper prices on goods from Costco. Yes, they do, but guess what you do? Consumers perform channel functions like storage costs and breaking bulk, those kinds of things. Okay, cost side positioning strategies. Now, I don't want you to get real scared up into this, but in cost side strategies, just ignore all that stuff, it's kind of scary. In cost side strategies, it says that you have three things that are the most important things that you have to manage, okay? Margins. You need to make as much money over the cost of goods sold that you possibly can. You buy it for as low as you can, sell it for as high as you can. Asset turnover, and that's just what I said. Have as little inventory as possible and have it constantly turning over. And then financial leverage, which basically comes down to total assets that you have versus your net worth, okay? Financial leverage also means is that you have as much liquid assets as you possibly can. When you get into finance, you'll learn what's called the quick ratio. And the quick ratio is the amount of liquid assets to total cost of goods sold. It's a critical ratio because it says, can I basically pay for every bill that I got and am I still alive? And so that's what the financial leverage kind of thing means. So the three measures of performance, which are the ways that retailers can improve, are these three. And I'm going to show a couple of other slides because it's easier with them to explain. And we're going to talk about these one at a time. GMROI, GMROL, and GMROS. I didn't make it up. Okay. GMROI, gross margin percentage multiplied by sales over inventory at cost. So what GMROI does is it evaluates how much money, the return you earn on your investments into inventory, okay? And so what that says is the gross margin percentage that I earn next to the sales over inventory, okay? Sales over inventory cost. So what the key point of all of this is that you reduce that margin by reducing the inventory level while maintaining sales by relying on things like just-in-time shipping. In other words, all that this means is that you invest very heavily, okay, on processes and things that make it much more efficient to do your job. This is where Walmart lives, okay? Now, gross margin, understand, only counts for the cost of goods sold. This basically says that based upon everything in the calculation, I've got one or two things really in my hands that I can make more money worth, okay, more money on. And one of them is that I maximize my return on investment, okay? That was a mouthful. So, gross margin per full-time equivalent employee. Realize retailers' goals are to optimize, not maximize, okay? Now, I want you to think of an average retail store. Think of it especially on as a Christmas. And so there's certain costs that no matter what you do are always going to be fixed. And sometimes they're the predominant costs that you have to pay for, not your variable costs. So the rent, utilities, advertising, legal fees, general administrative expenses, they don't increase at all, but they're a huge chunk, but they actually can decline as a percentage of sales if you have more sales. So let's say you're making $50,000 a month and it comes Christmas time and you know people are going to be in the store if you just had enough people to service them. So let's say you have 10 people that are helping in the store and that for Christmas you add 10 more, okay? And let's say you go up to 75,000 or that way. Now, it means this is that those additional people there, profitability jumps, the average sales per employee suffers a bit, but what it means is that you sell more. And so this gross margin for full-time employee basically is a way of saying that if I hire additional people to help out, I can increase profitability because it's a sale that I might necessarily not have gotten unless I'd had those people. The last is gross margin per square foot, GMROS, all right? And so what this means is that across the entire floor, what I want to be able to do is that every single space on the floor, I want to make money on. You put pressure on the suppliers so that they will give you sufficient margins, all right? What you do also is you decrease the amount of goods on the floor. And so in order to do that, you speed up inventory replenishment by keeping fewer goods on the shelf. And so you kind of do this in as efficient a way as you can. So instead of having 20 on the floor, you have 10 on the floor and you're replenishing more. Now, how does that help? It makes the average square foot value that much higher. Now, you can invest in inventory management systems and all like that instead of going through the process of just simply replenishing. But let's also remember this, and I've said before, is that place is the most expensive of all of the 4 Ps. And so it will take time and it'll take an investment, and you can eventually do it, but it's just that it's going to be difficult to introduce, okay? Because all of the channel partners, to do it efficiently, have to do it up front and up and down the channel system, okay? So these are the cost side strategies. By the way, in case anybody didn't know, the one store with the highest per dollar per square centimeter is Apple stores. Apple stores make the highest margin per square foot of any store in the world, and that includes diamond stores too. So, okay, so we're finished. We're good. This afternoon, I will send you the emails with your groups And I'll also send you an email link to the Zoom meetings for tomorrow. I have a little survey. If you want to say that you're coming, I'd really appreciate that. And if I don't have anything else, we're good for the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.